Saturday. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your weekend, no matter where you are in the world today. We're going to cover some deep topics in this one, and these are all answers to questions that we've received from you. So we're going to talk today about limiting beliefs, what's holding us back, what's keeping us from our dreams. We're going to talk about how does it work that you are what you think? I say that all the time. Everybody's heard those quotes, and we're going to go into that. I'm going to give you the explanation. I'm going to give you some mindset hacks and answer your questions. If you have a question or comment and you'd like to talk about it, just drop it into the comment section. If it's something more personal, you can send me a private message or through my website, send me an email. It's brentwebb.com. All right. So what are you working on right now? What are you struggling with? What is keeping you from your dream life, from your goals? Life isn't supposed to be a struggle. We're not supposed to be in quicksand 24/7. So what are limiting beliefs? Well, our beliefs, they put healthy boundaries on our behavior, but limiting beliefs also hold us back. They hold us back from what we want in life. Now, there's that old story, of the baby elephant that's tied to the fence post. As the baby elephant tugs and pulls, it fails to break the fence or break the rope. And eventually it gives up and it makes peace with its fate. The baby elephant is stuck, right? But eventually that baby elephant is going to grow up. It's going to become a big, huge adult elephant with gargantuan legs and a huge tusk, right? And a big trunk. And it could very easily walk away from that fence and take the whole thing with it if it wanted to. But that elephant, as smart as it is, believes that the fence is an immovable thing. So what happens? The adult elephant remains tied to it, falsely believing it can never escape. That's what we do all the time. So what are limiting beliefs? Well, limiting beliefs, obviously, they're false beliefs, and they prevent us from pursuing our goals and reaching our dreams and our desires. Limiting beliefs can keep you from doing such important things in your life, like applying for your dream job or meeting the girl of your dreams or leaving the relationship that you don't want. They can also keep you from doing unimportant things like skydiving in your underwear or trying out that weird flavor of ice cream that everybody's talking about, right? Our beliefs put our boundaries and our limitations. That's what they do. They create boundaries and limitations on what we perceive to be reasonable behavior. Now, my belief that stealing is wrong, well, that limits me from simply stealing the next car that rolls by, right? Grand Theft Auto style. This limiting belief is probably, I would say, a good one to have. But therefore, we can say that not all limiting beliefs are negative. In fact, obviously, we need some limiting beliefs in order to, keep us from doing dumb crap. Some limiting beliefs unnecessarily hold us back. And they hold us back from the greatest thing of all, who we can be. They hold us back from our destiny. Like the elephant that remains tied to the fence post, these limiting beliefs, they keep us in place. They keep us imprisoned, and we never realize it. These are the limiting beliefs that I want to talk about today. Now, limiting beliefs typically come in three flavors, let's say. Limiting beliefs about yourself, that make you feel like you can't do something because there's something inherently wrong with you. There's limiting beliefs about the world that makes you feel like you can't do something because no one will let you. And then there's limiting beliefs about life that make you feel like you can't do something because it's just too difficult. Now, I'm going to go over some common limiting beliefs in each of the categories as we move forward. And then I'm going to explain how to overcome them at the end. All right. So we're going to dive in. I've been taking notes for you guys. I fill journals and notepads. One of the most incredible things since I started this journey years ago is just the amount of writing that I do. Gratitude and, affirmations and using them for my visualizations. So I have just tons and tons of notes here that I want to get to you guys, right? That's what we got. So I'm going to open this up and we're going to talk about limiting beliefs about yourself, because those are the ones that really keep us in that quicksand, right? Some of the most impactful limiting beliefs are the ones we hold about us, you know? Like for a long time, I talked about this yesterday. I thought falsely that I was bad at math. You know, I had a best friend that thought he was horrible at writing and is now a published author with 6 or 7 books under his belt. You know, I know that sounds nuts, right? A best-selling author who spent most of his younger life believing he was a bad writer. But the truth is, he got poor grades in writing when he was in school, and he took those poor grades at face value. He was bad. Go do something else. I did the same thing. Math isn't my subject. I'll never learn this. You know, it took many years to realize that the reason he made bad grades, the reason I made bad grades, was not because he was a bad writer, not because I was bad at math, but because we never stuck to the assignments. You know, I was the kid who, instead of writing an essay about George Washington, you know, I'm drawing cartoons, right? I'm doing some kind of fantasy cartoon work, right? All the teachers hated that, of course. Well, not all of them. I have to say, I have had a few that kind of pushed me to be creative, you know? But teachers hated it because it's most of them, because it's out of the box thinking, you know, and it's that out of the box thinking that makes somebody a good writer, you know. Nothing holds us back like the beliefs that we hold about us, especially because so many of our beliefs about ourselves are just filled with emotional attachments, insecurities, and baggage that often must be unraveled before we can challenge the belief. You know, it reminds me of that story. You know, there are 2 monks walking along the river silently, side by side, and they're walking, and they get to a bend in the river, and there's a young lady there. And she stands up and she says, "Please, I need you to help me. My baby is back in the village. I've lost my way. I need to cross this river to get to the other side, but the current is too strong, and I'm afraid, you know, I'll get sucked away." And the 2 monks looked at each other, and the older monk picked up the girl, carried her across the river, put her down safely on the other side, went back across the river, and they continued on. And hours were going by, and the young monk was just, his mind was going crazy, you know. And finally, about 6 hours later, the young monk stops the old monk, and he says, wait. Why did you pick up that lady back there? We're not allowed to do that. We're not supposed to touch women. We're not supposed to interact like that. You know, how could you possibly do that? And the older monk said, I set that lady down 6 hours ago. Why are you still carrying her? That's what we do. We create this ourselves, right? We attach emotion. We attach, you know, our past. We attach fear of the future. We attach all these emotional tags. And it's just this giant ball. It's a mess up there, right? So I'm going to give you some examples of some common limiting beliefs. See if you see yourself or someone you know, maybe a family member, and see who you see as we go through these, okay? Age is a great one. Age is a great limiting belief because many people use that. They use it as an excuse not to do the things they want to do. You know, a lot of people think, I'm too old to go back to school. I'm too old to change careers. I'm too old to start dieting again. I'm too old to learn this new skill, right? At the other end of the spectrum, I often hear from people who think they're too young to apply for an amazing job. You know, we just had a client recently who, you know, thought he was too young to move to a new city by himself. I did that when I was 19, you know, the scariest thing I did, you know, but exhilarating too. So it can be either end of the spectrum. I'm too old, my time has passed, it's too late, or it's too early and I need to do more. I need to prove myself more. You can see how nonsensical this crap is when you say it out loud, when you realize that sometimes older and younger people use their age to avoid the exact same thing. Some people think they're too old to start a business, and other people think they're too young. So which one is it? I'll give you a hint. It's neither. Another is personality traits. Sometimes we think that a personal trait is holding us back in some area of our life. Maybe you think you're too dumb. to apply for a scholarship, or you're too dumb to go to a certain school that you want to go to, or maybe even just to have a conversation about something smart with someone. Maybe you think you're too ugly to talk to someone who's even remotely attractive. Maybe you think that because your right leg is slightly shorter than your left leg, you'll never look good in a pair of shorts, so you're relegated to sweating your ass off in sweatpants, right, for the rest of your life. The tough part about limiting beliefs around our personality traits is that we usually can't change them. So if we've decided that the world will simply forever hate us because we're short, well, we will feel doomed by that for the rest of our lives. This is all about freedom. This is all about having the freedom to be yourself, having money not being an issue. You're passionate about what you're doing. You have a fantastic family dynamic. Freedom, that sense of peace that you get when, bad things still happen, but imagine how you'll deal with those things when you're coming from the base of power like this, right? What else? Oh, how about feelings, right? Feelings. That is a big limiting belief we have about ourselves. Believe it or not, we use our emotions as a basis for limiting beliefs. I can't meet new people because I'm too depressed and no one will like me. I can't go back to work because I'm too embarrassed of what happened at the party when I was drunk at the office party. I can't have a good relationship because I'm angry all the time. But there's a paradox within these sort of limiting beliefs. What we need to do is deal with these emotions. To deal with them is the very thing that we are avoiding doing. If you're depressed and sad, going out and socializing will help destroy that pattern. You'll break that pattern, at least for that night, and it'll get easier and easier. It'll help to destroy the depression. If you're easily embarrassed, facing the judgment of others is the only way to get over it. If you're so angry at someone that you don't want to talk to them, chances are that talking to them will help you get over why you're PO'd. Not doing this thing or any of these things will lead you onto a vicious cycle of these kind of limiting beliefs. We don't do something we should do because of our current feelings, and doing nothing leads to more of those feelings. What you resist persists. What you don't want, you'll be buried in. If it's always, I don't want this, you have to go instead to what you do want and go to that point. So what's next? What about, we talked about limiting beliefs about the world, because obviously they're not just about ourselves. We can adopt so many wrong beliefs about the world. And the internet is an amazing thing. We're connected anywhere in the world, but there's so much misinformation. And the great thing, love is what matters, but the evil is just a lack of love, and there's so many people out there that are going through their life unconscious. They're living from their ego, from their pain body. And so they're not even, it's like when somebody commits a crime and, they get them off on insanity. Realistically, if you are so unconscious and your pain body is running the show, that's really bad in road rage. When people are driving, and somebody, it can even be something like somebody in front of you is driving too slow. And, and if you get two people with big pain bodies that, stop, and that's where somebody gets shot or something horrible happens, right? Over some kind of stupid traffic issue. How does that happen? I'll give you an example. I know somebody who had this really weird idea when he was young, right? He believed anybody who talked to him was only doing so because they wanted something. And he got that from his dad. He had a single dad. His mom died when he was young. And it was always, everyone's out to get you. Everyone's evil. Money is bad, right? So nobody, in his mind, nobody's going to come up and talk to you just to be nice. They obviously want something from you, right? So all up until he was 12, 13, 14 years old, that belief prevented him from trusting people. And because he wasn't trusting people, he wasn't discovering how wrong the belief was. That's the problem. The way to disprove the belief is then to go through it. But by not, there's no way you can prove that belief is wrong. And every time that happens, it becomes stronger and stronger. So here are some more limiting beliefs that have to do with the world. And we all see yourself here and be honest. Even though we're here together, this is for you. It's here to help you. But I'm not there with you. No one is there with you, right? So you have to be honest with yourself, and that's all. So do you see yourself here? Disapproval is one. Disapproval, maybe the most common of limiting beliefs that revolve around what other people will and won't allow us to do. I can't talk to them because they'll think I'm weird. I can't quit grad school because my mom will be disappointed. I can't leave my cushy job to take a lower paying job that I enjoy more because people won't respect me. They'll think I'm crazy. I can't leave my garbage marriage because I'm damaged goods and no one will ever want to be with me again. If you're considering something and your first thought is, what would people think? You've already lost. For one, the reality is that people don't give a shit as much as we think that they do. They're too busy worrying about their own lives, and they're too busy worrying about what other people will think of them. And secondly, if they don't approve of what you're doing, screw it. It's your life. Living for someone else or living to impress someone is a waste. It's a waste of this gift. They don't have to go to your miserable job every day. They don't have to feel like, they're being sucked dry by all the energy vampires around them. They don't have to stay in a toxic relationship. They don't have to sit paralyzed with fear thinking, what if? You want to spend the rest of your life looking back and going, I wish, I would have, I could have, I should have, and then I would have been different. Screw all that regret. Put a break in your timeline right now. What about prejudice? Discrimination and prejudice exist in the world, and now as much as ever, because the people are coming out of the woodwork. People are racist and sexist and all sorts of phobics, right? And while it's important to know and understand these realities, one also has to be careful not to allow them to prevent you from living your best life. Now, some examples of that could be, I'm Asian and women don't like Asian men, so I'll never find a girlfriend. I'm short and short people make less money than tall people, so I don't get the promotion. I'll never get the promotion at work. I'm a woman and people don't listen to women's ideas. I'll just have to keep quiet at the meetings. One way to think about these issues is that while they may be true population-wide, they are not true from individual to individual. Yes, maybe women are talked over more than men, but that doesn't mean your specific coworkers will talk over you. Besides, the only way to overcome these prejudices in society is for individuals to stand up for themselves. If your religion tells somebody else that you're right and they're wrong, just for living their life, there's a problem with your religion. Religion, spirituality is inclusive. We are connected. We are together. We are one. We are not separate. We are not against each other. And anything that tells you different is not the truth. Next, it's limiting belief about life. We develop many limiting beliefs around what a normal life looks like. Most of these beliefs revolve around time, being too early for something, being too late for something. What is real? What's imaginary? How about this one? What's an example? Miss the boat. This is someone's already done that, tried that, said that. If only I had done this, I invented this, and then, I didn't get to do anything about it. And a year later, somebody ripped off the idea. Somebody's already built that thing. Have you ever considered the fact that somebody else is already making money off something that it's actually evidence that you should start a business and, right? It's actually proof for you. The aspiring writer bitches that their idea has already been written. Everything has. Write it better. The 40-something divorcee gripes about how everyone their age is already taken. That's BS. Underneath it all is the belief that there's just not enough left for us. There are not enough customers, not enough ideas, not enough money, not enough time, not enough love. This is bullshit. The world is huge. There's plenty of room for you and me and everybody else that wants to dive in. It's not a pie cut into 8 pieces that only 8 people can have. There's enough for everyone. right? How about using time as an excuse? That's probably the most common excuse that I see, especially people that are considering some sort of big lifestyle change, like changing their diet, exercising more, or trying to read a book a week. It's this very old complaint about time. I'm too busy. There just isn't enough time. But you know how they say if someone really likes you, they find a way to spend time with you? Well, if you really want to do something, you'll find a way to make time for that too. When somebody says, I don't have time, what I always hear is, I don't care enough. Because the fact is that if you made that change your priority, you'd clear your schedule and you'd reorganize your schedule all around it. More often than not, we're really prioritizing when we can't find the time is being comfortable and being safe, right? We fall into these little safe routines. We hide behind our safe outward identities. Those things that we've created, those fake versions of us, we spend our time on safe little distractions that won't rock the boat, right? How about this excuse? It doesn't exist. Perhaps the most unshakable limiting belief has to do with what actually exists and what doesn't. Sometimes we choose to believe that things are impossible as a way to prevent ourselves from trying and failing to achieve them. Love between two people is fleeting at best and made up at worst. So why even look for it? Love is just something that was created by the greeting card companies to sell cards and candy. Success is just a fabricated idea by society to control us. So why do anything? It's actually the opposite. Humans are selfish and will always screw you over. So why get close to someone? Now, this one is tricky because we almost always buy our own BS. We think we're geniuses, head and shoulders above everyone else. Think about how we thought when we were children, teenagers. Oh, we knew everything, right? We believe these things are actually real, while the rest of society is clearly deluded. It's not us. We're completely coherent here. Everyone else is deluded. So now that we've talked about them, we've gone deep into them. I've given you examples of what they are. I've told you stories from my life. I've told you stories from friends of mine, clients. That's good. That's fine, Brent. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, great, but how do I get over them? How do I overcome my limiting beliefs? Well, it's hard enough just to spot them. So awareness is a huge key in everything we do. Because the moment that you become aware, you're already winning. You're already doing something 95% of the other people are not doing. The people that are walking through their life sleepwalking. It's harder to overcome them, these limiting beliefs, but they can be done. So here are some steps to get you started. First, ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? Man, this could change so much if we would do more of this. Everyone believes their opinion is right and everyone else is wrong. Limiting beliefs lose their power as soon as we consider that they may not be true. You can't date because of your height. What if you're wrong? Can't get a promotion because of your gender? What if you're wrong? As a mental exercise, adopt the ability to simply just question your own beliefs and find alternative possibilities. Now, not alternative facts, alternative possibilities. Challenge yourself to imagine a world where your assumption is incorrect. What would that world look like? What would it take? Usually it's far less than you think. Well, what else can you do? Well, ask yourself, how is this belief serving me? We don't realize the amount of crap we carry with us on a daily basis, from childhood, from college, from our first or second marriage, and all of this crap. We like to imagine ourselves to be victims of our own limiting beliefs. But the truth is, we adopt those beliefs because they serve us in some way. That elephant I talked about believes he can't pull away from the fence post because that belief served him. It served him at one time. It prevented the strain and the struggle of failure at one time. But it doesn't anymore. Generally, we hold onto limiting beliefs for the same reason, to protect ourselves from struggle and from failure. Also, we often hold on to limiting beliefs because they make us feel special. They make us feel self-righteous. They make us feel like we deserve attention. It's not fair that I can't change careers because I'm too old. Look at me, pity me. Beliefs only stick when they serve us in some way. So figure out how your belief is serving you and ask yourself, is it worth it or not? What else? Well, create alternative beliefs. And this is the time to get creative. Come up with ways in which you could be wrong. Maybe the average person isn't attracted to someone your height, but you're not trying to date the average person. You're trying to date someone special. And someone special is going to find you attractive the way you are. Maybe you're older than most people that start a career, but who says you can't be successful? There's nothing stopping you but your mind. If anyone in the history of forever has done it, you can do it too. That law is still on the books. It hasn't been revoked. You have that right. It's a God-given birthright. Not just some people can have these things and not you. Everyone. We are together, one consciousness, connected. Now, it's not as simple as just choosing a belief and then believing it. What you're doing, you have to get into the habit of questioning your beliefs, trying out new ones. Sometimes it even helps to write them down. I'm telling you, journaling is one of the best things you can do. Go back and read those journals. I've read journals from 1, 2, 3 years ago. Unbelievable. Things that are in my life now that I wrote out word for word and acted like I had them, and I now have them. This process works, and it works all the time if you do all the steps. So write down your beliefs, write down how you feel, write down your assumptions, and then come up with 4 or 5 alternatives to your assumption. Okay? So 4 or 5 different ways that that the truth you think of could be true in a different way. You are choosing what to believe in each and every moment. You just don't realize it. With repeated practice in noticing those limiting beliefs and imagining new ideas to replace them, you'll start to notice the thousands of tiny decisions that you make every day based on your limiting beliefs that keep you from living the life of your dreams. You'll start to notice those same limiting beliefs popping up in different areas of your life. The same limiting belief that keeps you from going for that job. Maybe it's going to keep you from ordering the sandwich you want because you don't want the calories, or wearing the clothes you want to wear. You'll start to see how ridiculous it is. Where is the line? Next, test those alternative beliefs to see if they might be true. The final step is to treat these alternative beliefs as though they're hypotheses in an experiment. Now you've got to go out and try them and see if they work. Treat it like trying on a new pair of jeans, adding a new ingredient to a recipe, taking a car out for a test drive. Enter your favorite cheesy metaphor, whatever it is for you, until you're willing to actually see if these alternative beliefs play out in a real world. We can't be certain of what is true and what is not. And most of the time, we will find that we're actually wrong about what we initially believed. It simply takes the self-awareness to consider that we may have been wrong, and then have the courage to go out into the world and see if we were. In many ways, we can be our own worst enemy. We are confined by our own perceptions. It's a prison of our own making. We're constrained by our understanding of true and false. Challenging your own understanding is important. Testing new ideas is important. You're never at the full expansion of yourself. There is always room to grow. Just make sure you are not the only one stopping it from happening. Get out of your way and make it happen. Now, most of you know, a very good friend of mine recently passed. Gavin McLeod was the captain of the Love Boat, was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Was such a fantastic guy in all areas of his life. And I wanted to play something for you guys. This is just something that is so profound to me. So I was looking on YouTube, fell down the YouTube hole like we all do, right? And somebody had asked me about Jim and Tammy Baker. We were talking about the old PTL club, and I grew up, my grandma was into that. And, he had built that big Christian amusement park down in South Carolina and stuff. And my grandma used to send money to that ministry until my uncle took her there to see this, this multi-million-dollar place that he had built. But anyway, they had a huge Christian satellite network, and Gavin and his wife were guests many times. But in the middle of the Love Boat, Gavin decided he didn't want to be married anymore, and he divorced her. And she became very religious. And this is not about religion, but I want you guys to understand the idea of belief. So I'm going to play this first clip for you. So let's do this.
Each other, and on the island where we were, there was really not a lot to do at night. So they were asleep in the other room, and I turned on television. I just thought of this. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, I haven't heard this.
Well, and I watched you all. Now, I had seen you from time to time, but I didn't watch Christian programs. I was a Christian, but I was a Catholic, and I don't know, I just didn't watch a lot of Christian television. So there you were, and you had a man on who was healed I think he was a homosexual, and he was healed. And I started watching this program, and I thought, well, if God can heal homosexuality, then he certainly can heal my marriage. And I had...
First of all, ridiculous. Obviously, no pastor is healing anybody from being gay, nor should they, right? This is back in the 80s. And of course, but that's not the idea. The idea is this. Gavin divorced her. She was going through a rough time, and she found religion like a lot of people do. And she just threw herself into it. She got a, prayer group, and she's praying to bring him back. Prayer is affirmation, right? When you're affirming something over and over and over and over again. But what I love about this is, so she's watching Christian television, and she sees what she thinks, right? She has no reason not to believe that a gay man was cured by Jim Baker. This is before he went to prison for bilking, millions of dollars out of people. So we know that's a bunch of BS. But that doesn't matter, because what this is a great example of is belief and the power of faith, because we need that in our lives, right? It's a power and a belief in ourselves. But because she watched this show and she saw what, this is what she saw, it's a miracle, in her eyes. So because if God can heal a gay man, he can definitely fix my marriage. That created belief. And that's where she came from. She came from that place of belief. Now, whether it was coming from, God, the universe, source energy, whatever, the affirmations, she believed it. And then it happened. Gavin came back to her. I mean, it's an amazing story, really. It's in his book. It's an amazing story. But, so she believed, and it started to happen. And I want to show you the next part. This is the most profound thing I think she says. So listen carefully, and I'll tell you.
It works with faith. That's
right.
faith.
You pray believing,
yes.
And you don't care what it looks like. You hear gossip.
Right.
You hear this. You hear that. And you go. I had a prayer partner every morning. She would say, when I'd say, "But do you know what I just read?" And she said, "We're going to the other side," which I had heard, in your songs. And she said, "Just keep straight ahead. And if people would only know, you pray believing." Most people, myself included, you pray never thinking you're preparing for what you're going to do if you don't get the answer to your prayer.
Oh, that's powerful.
It is.
You're giving a faith lesson that is truth. This is truth, people. She had works to back up the faith, hope. If it's just hope, you back it up with action, you see.
Yeah.
The fact that Gavin and his wife, it's the power of belief. And that message where she says the main problem with prayer, which again, if you're not religious, then just believe affirmation. But the problem is people don't believe they're going to get what they're praying for. And if you don't believe you're going to get it, you're never going to receive it, because it's always just off and out of your grasp. That was one of the most profound things I've ever heard. Now it shows you, you can hear, I've heard lines in movies. I've overheard somebody on a subway. I hear the most amazing, incredible, motivational things in the weirdest places, And so I was trying to show my assistant the PTL Club. So I pulled up, just typed in PTL Club. That was the first episode that came up. It just happened to be a good friend of mine, Gavin McLeod. So I decided to watch it. And then he's telling his story, which again is a great story. He was an alcoholic. He left his wife. He was dating younger girls. She started praying, affirming other people with her. And he came back to her. But the idea is she believed it to be true. And she operated from that position. She saw something on TV she thought was a miracle. So now she believed that it was possible. And just the mind doing that, she started changing the reality and she made it possible. And the idea that most people, when they are doing their affirmations, when they're praying, they don't expect to get what they're praying for. That's huge. And it's true. Think about it. How often are we just daydreaming? Are we just wishing? We're not affirming it from a place of we have it. If you don't believe that you can have what it is that you're praying for, that you're affirming for, that you're attempting to manifest, you are never going to get it. So one of the questions that we received also yesterday was, how can I finally decide to stop waiting and start living? It's a deep one, right? You stop thinking about everyone else around you. That's the first thing. You stop thinking about the expectations and the job that you have. You stop thinking about the people you love. And you stop thinking about what everyone else around you wants from you. Just for a second, you shut off everything else and you start thinking for once about you, about what you need, about what you want. Open your eyes. Now do exactly what you just pictured in your mind. This is not anyone else's life. You aren't supposed to please everyone. You aren't supposed to make everyone else happy. This is about you. And this is about you being happy. You weren't made for mediocre moments. You weren't made for being stagnant and for staying quiet. You weren't made for spotless tile floors and white picket fences. You weren't made for fake smiles and for pretending. You were made for spectacular days. You were made for becoming friends with strangers and for being loud. You were made for dirt paths that lead you to blue waves and sunny beaches. You were made for a canopy of Polaroid pictures and thumbtacks on your maps. You were made for dirty clothes that have witnessed the world with you. You were made for new foods and new tastes that you never knew existed. And you were made for making new homes everywhere you go. You were made to go, not to stay. So don't push back your goals. Don't push back your aspirations and your dreams. Don't keep saying no just out of comfort and out of love. Go and breathe that new salty oxygen. Inhale new sights and exhale the whispers of the past who tell you what you should be doing and where you should be going. You were made to be a traveler. You were made to walk on fresh, snow-covered bridges and to swim across rivers that are too beautiful for words. You were made to find yourself in every new place you go. And you were made to explore everything that hasn't been written about. It's time. It's time now to go and live. It's time to dive into what makes your heart beat, what makes your heart beat faster, and what makes your smile grow wider. It's time to buy a plane ticket. It's time to be proud of who you are and who you want to be. It's time to walk where footprints haven't smudged the dirt yet. It's time to be free, and it's time to be okay with being free. You're allowed to live how you want. You're allowed to set yourself free from what a normal life is supposed to look like. You're allowed to be you. You are allowed to run wild. You are allowed to attain your dreams. Remember, if anyone's ever done it in the history of the world, you can do it too. Next, we're going to talk about the idea that thoughts create reality. Every time I talk about this, and I've talked about it several times in the last week, people always ask the same question. I don't know what it means. I don't understand it. You know, you are what you think. Your thoughts are creating reality. That's the secret, really. It's the secret to all historical thinkers, to all present geniuses, to philosophers and high achievers who've agreed with this one universal truth. The secret revolves around a very simple idea. You are what you think about. I've said that at least 8 times this week in videos. James Allen, the philosopher, wrote, "As man thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains." Stoic and Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." Emerson wrote, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." And Earl Nightingale, one of my favorite personal development leaders, "We become what we think about." Mark Twain wrote, "Life consists mainly of the storm of thoughts that is forever flowing through one's head." All these great minds and so many others discovered the secret to living a happy, successful, prosperous, productive life. We live in a world of thought. And because of that, our thoughts create our experiences. And thus, we experience what we think. It is the quality of our thoughts, then, that create the quality of our life. When we are unhappy where we are in life, we seek to create change. So we go about transforming our environment, believing that doing so will be the necessary catalyst for the change we want to see. We buy things for a materialistic boost of happiness. I was so bad with this. Ugh. We travel to escape our problems. Luckily, I got paid for that, so I didn't have to do that. But we seek substances to numb the mind and help us forget. Who hasn't done that? But of course, we fall back where it all started, unhappy with where we are today. And so this cycle repeats itself over and over, sometimes for a lifetime. We buy, we travel, we forget, always focusing on the external factors that we need to alter in order for us to have what we want. This happens because we falsely assume that change begins out there. It has to begin from the outside. In truth, the environment does play a role in changing your circumstances, but it doesn't address the root of the cause, your thinking. And it's the driver behind why do you feel the way you do. Here's what you need to realize. If you want to change the outside, you must start inside. You must change the attention of your thoughts, because what you think directly influences how you feel, and how you feel influences how your body reacts. It affects your belief system. It affects how your body reacts directly, influences how you behave. And how you behave comes to define who you are and what you experience. If you get the inside right, the outside will fall into place by osmosis. You don't have to do anything. Don't spend 20 years in analysis, seeing a psychiatrist and paying them $300 an hour. They are not there to get you over something. They're there to keep you going, right? You have to comprehend the essence of the statement. You are what you think. You have to understand the link between your thoughts, between emotion, and between behavior. So what is it? What's the link? Well, thoughts in and of themselves have no power. It's only when we actively invest our attention into them that they seem real. And when we engage with specific thoughts, we begin to feel the emotions that are triggered by these thoughts. And then we enter a new emotional state, and that influences how we act. For example, if you regularly engage with the thought that you're a failure and feed more attention to it, you'll start to feel down. You'll start to feel worthless. You'll start to feel discouraged and even depressed. So how does your body react to this? Your shoulders fall. You start to sulk. You project no confidence. But if you engage with more empowering thoughts, well, they would boost your confidence and they would trigger a more positive emotional state, which will then be reflected in how your body reacts, standing up straight, upbeat, and energized. Thoughts trigger emotions, and the vibrational frequency of these emotions then feed back to the original thought. And as we continue to give our mental attention to the initial thought, it reaffirms the emotion, which then energizes the thought. So we are in a constant cycle of think, feel, think, feel, think, feel, think, feel, no break. This results in an emotional state where you become stressed, full of anxiety, depressed, discouraged, whatever, happy, energized, confident if we're going the other way. How you think and how you feel directly impact how your body reacts. And all three influences how you behave, and also they influence what action you're going to take. This is how your thoughts create reality. It's in the way you behave, in the way you act, that you define who you are, that you create your belief patterns. It's what you experience. And the way you behave and act is simply a construction of how you feel, how you think, and what you do. So in short, emotions are the reactions to the thoughts that you give attention to. Emotions are reactions to the thoughts you give attention to. How you feel and your body language is a reflection of what you're thinking about. Since emotion and the body's reactions are triggered by the thoughts you give attention to, you're living in a world of thought. Your thoughts create your experiences, and then you experience what you think. This means that all the problems we experience are nothing more than a thinking problem. The real problem is not the problem. The real problem is how we think about the problem. We are not our circumstances. We are what we think about our circumstances. You failing in your business is not the problem. The problem is in you perceiving it to be a problem. It's in how you're thinking about it. You dislike your job and you're blaming career choices. That's not the problem. The way you think about it is the problem. Our problems are nothing more than our emotional and our body reactions to our thoughts about the problem. So if we can observe and change our attention or our perception, we can change our emotional reaction, which then changes our body reaction, which ultimately changes how we feel, how we act. It transforms our life. That's exactly why true change begins inside, not outside. It's not going to come from that job, that guy, that girl, that car. That is not going to give you the happiness you want. You grant it to yourself first. We spend all our time and all our money and all our energy trying to change our experience in the outside world, not realizing that the whole thing is being projected from the inside out. So if you think you're a failure, you'll feel like a failure, and then you'll act like a failure, and then you'll be one. As long as you give attention to the thought that you're a failure, you'll continue to experience this reality, which then reinforces your belief, and you must become a failure. This is called a thought pattern, and it has the power to destroy our lives. And it is with so many people. What is a thought pattern, Brent? A thought pattern reinforces your beliefs. A thought pattern is a habit of thinking in a particular way, right? The more you do something, the more likely it is you will do it again in the future. Repetition rewires the brain. It breeds habits. The more the neurons fire together, the more likely it is they will fire together next time. Every thought we experience creates a chemical reaction in our brains, which then triggers an emotion. As we engage with this thought, it creates a new circuit that sends a signal to the body, and we react in a certain way. The more we repeat this pattern, the more it seeps into our mind and it becomes a habit. This is why neuroscientists say cells that fire together wire together. As you keep thinking about the same problems, you're producing the same emotions and you're performing the same actions. You continue to live the same experiences. You continue to attract the same type of person in your relationship. As we repeatedly engage in the same thought pattern over and over and over and over again, thought patterns of how we think, how we feel, how we do, these patterns get encoded like a blueprint in our subconscious mind. And what does our subconscious mind do? It runs 95% of our lives on automation. Neuroscientists have shown that most of our decisions, most of our actions, most of our emotions and our behavior depends on the 95% of brain activity that is beyond our conscious awareness, which means that 95% of our life comes from the programming in our subconscious mind. Programming that was created when we were less than 10 years old. We weren't adults. We weren't mature. We weren't logical. But this is why it's so hard to make change happen. You're working on the outside mind. You're never able to get in. You're putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot. It's because we've repeated the same thought patterns over and over. So now they are rooted in us. They become who we are. Because our thought patterns reinforce our beliefs. And our beliefs, they come to define us. They define who we are, and they define the reality that we experience. Once you draw a conclusion about yourself, you're likely to do just two things. Look for evidence that reinforces your belief, and then discount anything that runs contrary to your belief. If you develop the belief that you're a failure, you will view every mistake you make as proof to affirm that you are indeed a failure. And when you do succeed at something, you'll credit it to luck. And this is how your thoughts create your reality. As you continue to think you're a failure, you continue to feel and act in a way that reaffirms your belief. What happens next? You start to dwell and you fall into a trap of self-pity. So what does this mean to you? It means this. As you keep thinking the same thoughts, producing the same emotions, and performing the same actions, you continue to live the same life. Easy, right? As we repeatedly engage in the same thought patterns of think, feel, do, these patterns encode in us. They're a blueprint in our subconscious. Your subconscious mind automates your life, which means if you're not aware of your thought patterns, you will continue to live by them for the rest of your life. You will live by the behavioral patterns you cultivated as a kid. And that is creating your current experiences. As Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So how do you change your reality? You create new patterns that create a new reality. You recondition yourself. This isn't something you can change overnight. This is a lifetime commitment to mindful reprogramming and mindful growth. It's what the neuroscientists refer to as neuroplasticity. The idea that you can rewire your brain by creating new behavioral patterns where new cells fire and wire together. And in order to do this, you need to understand that you are not your thoughts. You are the thoughts you give your power and attention to. You're the thinker. You're the overseer. Your thoughts are nothing more than an endless stream of ideas running through your mind. Those thoughts hold no power over you until you grant them power. They are powerless until you decide to cling on to one of them. This very act makes you the thinker of your thoughts. In other words, imagine your mind to be a farm and your thoughts to be seeds. You can plant either good seeds, roses, or bad seeds, poison ivy. Whichever seed you choose to focus on and plant, it will then grow and multiply. And the same thing happens with your mind. Whichever thoughts you choose to cultivate and water, Those are the things that are going to expand in your life. Whichever seed you choose to focus and plant, that is going to be what you grow and you multiply. And the same thing happens in your mind. Whichever thought you choose to focus on and plant, it will grow and it will multiply. You are the planter of the seeds. You are the farmer of your mind. You are the thinker of your thoughts. Do you want your mind to flourish and become a garden of roses or a farm of poison? You are the thinker. So how do you create new behavioral patterns? You create new thought patterns. And how do you create those? Here's how. Increase your awareness by observing your emotions and your body reactions. Be more conscious of what thoughts you give attention to. It's what psychologists call metacognition, the idea of thinking about our thinking. The next time you feel a strong emotion, bring your awareness to it by pausing and asking yourself, what's going on in my mind right now? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I angry? Why am I upset? Why am I feeling so low? This can help us figure out why we're feeling what we're feeling and drive us back to the root cause of these feelings, the thoughts that we first gave our attention to. It's not the thoughts that pass through your head that impact your life. It's the ones you take possession of. It's the one you think about all day long. Once we agree to give our attention to a thought, it becomes more and more real. It becomes more and more powerful. It has more and more control over us. It triggers an emotion, which then triggers a body reaction. And this drives us to act in a certain way. This thought pattern creates a mental circuit in our brain. And when we repeat it, it becomes a subconscious behavioral pattern that runs on automation. This is how your thoughts shape your reality. This is why you are what you think. And this is why all the great minds and thinkers agree. We live in a world of thought. Our thoughts create our experiences, and thus we experience what we think. The quality of our thoughts creates the quality of our life. Remind yourself every day of the power of your thoughts. Remind yourself what you're giving attention to. And pay attention, because those become your beliefs, and those define your lives, and those become your destiny. Don't forget to join our Facebook community. We are a fantastic group of like-minded people banded together and empowering ourselves, empowering each other to take control of our own lives, letting go, setting goals, and making positive choices. Look, my work was created out of a commitment to bring about breakthroughs. What is that? Those are shifts in what is possible in being human. It's how we create the space in which those breakthroughs can occur. That's the secret. My programs and coaching are presented in a way that leads to discussions that are engaging, empowering, and that produce extraordinary results for all participants. Now, I am known all over the world for my ability to communicate and the power of my material. But take a look at my website, brentwebb.com. There are all sorts of testimonials there. You can read other people's stories, but you'll understand we are here to create permanent, positive shifts in the quality of your life. We want you to have a very new and unique kind of freedom and power. The freedom to be at ease and the power to be effective in the areas that matter to you. The quality of your relationships, the confidence with which you live your life, your personal productivity, your experience of the difference you make, and most important of all, your enjoyment of life. What I offer is breakthrough technology. It's very practical. This methodology for producing breakthroughs, achievements that are extraordinary outside of what is predictable. And I teach from a place of transformative learning. That's a way of learning that gives people an awareness of the basic structures in which they know, they think, and act. And from that awareness comes that shift, that fundamental shift that leaves people more in accord with their own possibilities and those of the people around them. Participants in my coaching program find themselves able to think and act beyond their existing views and their limits in their personal and their professional lives, in their relationships, and wider communities of interest. So if you'd like some more information, go over to my website. It is brand new. It is brentwebb.com. That's it. It is the weekend. I want you to go out today. I want you to enjoy yourself. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what is going on. You are alive and you are well. And it is a beautiful day. It has nothing to do with the weather. It has nothing to do with what other people are saying or doing. It has to do with you being here now in this amazing experience. So go out and enjoy it. I'll see you back here tomorrow for a new episode of Soul Sunday. See you later.